All right, let's talk about how fucking weird this movie is.
Oh, dude. Oh, I got it. Oh, it was such a treat because this film is like, you know that song, it's In Dreams by Roy Orbison?
Yeah.
And it's, you know how songs have a structure A B
Chris.
A B. This goes A B C D E F G H I J. The structure
This was
changes.
a lot of movie.
It's a lot of
Yes.
you never go back to anywhere near the beginning again. It just keeps developing and developing and developing and becoming weirder and weirder and weirder. And I love that. That was great.
So I just want to say one thing real quick up front is that this was based on a novel, and the novel was written in 1999.
Oh wow.
And the really interesting part about that is that this novel presupposes the rise of Vladislav Sukov, and Vladislav Sukov is basically the architect of Putinism. He was an advertising executive, and he got bored of being an advertising executive after being one for like a week and a half, because it was like the end of the Soviet era. And then he just was like, actually, no, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go into politics. And he started using advertising, the disconnect of advertising with reality, to start changing the way that people thought in Russia about
Russian culture.
about their politics. And he is really the driving factor of the current hypernormalization that's happening in Russia. And he was the deputy prime minister for a while, and he was been a special assistant to Putin for Putin's like entire career.
Makes sense.
And then he just got caught up in an email hacking scandal last year, and he just lost his job in February. But like, this guy was one of the main behind the scenes power players in Russia. And it's this story. This story is basically him. He started out as a leftist. He got involved with the political culture after being in the business world, and completely sold his soul because he knew he would get money and power and whatever he wanted to be Putin's like propaganda minister. And now I'm going to get murdered for saying this on the internet, but like,
You'll be defenestrated, actually, not murdered. It's the mysteriously falling out of a window somewhere.
No, I'm going to have polonium poisoning.
I was gonna say, it's polonium, and
You're gonna have to go to Prague.
You can defenestrate people in places other than Prague, Jim.
That's
We've
right.
talked about this.
I know, he's a purist, though. Yeah, if it's not Prague, you're not being defenestrated. I'm sorry, man.
I'm sorry, I'm a classicist.
Hey, can my Christmas present be
that's the clip, actually. Sorry.
Yes. Thank you.
make him in focus.
Anyway,
I don't know what that word means.
Anyway,
to be
throwing
thrown
people out of windows.
I love defenestration because all it means is to be thrown out of a window.
Yeah.
The Russian River Brewing Company has a
you-
beer called Defenestration because all of their beers are something Asian. As
So
the
would like, can you defenestrate yourself?
you can auto defenestrate.
Yeah, you
That
can
is
auto
correct.
defenestrate. Yes, you can.
That's because that's like in every single Woody Allen joke.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm. I've gone. What's that one from actually Annie Hall? I've gone out the window. That's actually a really funny line.
He says that in like every movie. When
Oh.
I'm gonna go out the window when he talks about killing himself.
Oh, okay, well he's a fan of the classics too.
Yep.
Anyway, hell of a movie. It just
This is my one word review.
I know.
Wow.
Reality aside, it was just like you could kind of see this wonderful kind of synergy where this guy is coming out of Soviet Russia, where he had to invent advertising, had to invent how to sell things to people, and how it developed from like a simple thing to a complex thing to a ridiculous thing as it went along. It was fascinating.
Anybody else
Wagging
notice
the
the
dog.
weirdly similar angle to Absolute Beginners?
Yeah.
No, what are you thinking about?
Think about it.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. There is kind of about advertising.
He
in
just
there.
Yeah,
doesn't.
it's
He doesn't
basically
have.
like-
He doesn't have the end of the arc.
No, we didn't have the end of the arc. But
I
it,
also
you know,
thought
it's
it would
like
be
it's
a
gonna
good
pull them
double
up and like,
bill with how to get ahead in advertising.
or you know it. Well, yeah.
The hell of a movie that.
As somebody who spent most of their life in marketing, I found this movie to be extremely anti-marketing. in
No,
much
two
the
of you
same way
guys.
that
I want.
How
I
to
want
get an advertising was extremely
I
anti-marketing.
want to hear more about from you guys, but Chris and John, about the advertising angle on this.
Well, yeah, I worked in an agency for 18 years, so obviously there was a connection there for me watching these guys come up with slogans for shit. And
Yeah.
some of the ad campaigns were just so off the wall. That was one of my
Gap
favorite
ad at
parts
the
of
end
thing.
just about knocked me off my chair.
They're all real.
What?
Wait, what?
They're all based on like the slogans and the commercials and stuff like that are all based on real Russian advertisements. Like they're not necessarily word for word or like, you know, shot for shot or whatever, but they're all based on
I
real
have to
Russian
imagine that
advertisements.
that premise of the West is going to start bringing their shit in, and we have to
Yeah.
figure out a way to sell this to Russians.
That's
The
right.
re-
'cause
the
The
way
American
the,
slogans won't work.
the reason that they got to use all of these brands is all the brands signed on and in some cases gave them money to
Oh,
That is amazing.
Oh,
to
it
me.
makes
it's
total sense.
product placement.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me.
The Tic Tac one was one of
I
my
saw the
favorites.
Gap.
If I had
There's
if
no
I
such
had had
thing as
time,
bad
my screenshot
publicity.
would be the Tic Tac thing.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was
Which was brilliant.
amazing.
That was like one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah.
This was a lot of movie in 2 hours. I mean, just
Oh,
so much.
God.
And it reminded me. It came a couple of years. Did any of you? I'm guessing it was probably only a tad maybe. Did any of you guys see the two Timur? I'm gonna Beckman Tabov, the Russian vampire flicks, Night Watch and Day Watch.
I
Yeah,
didn't
they're
see Day
awesome.
Watch, but I saw Night Watch.
Yeah, that is also a lot of movie,
Mhm.
and it had the same kind of batshit crazy filmmaking style. And
There were- Dude, at the
I
ends
really
of
like
this,
those movies, and I like this for like, if for no other reason, you don't get to see a lot of movies that take place in Moscow.
No,
And
you
there's
don't.
there's a sensibility to those movies that all three of these things you could kind of push them together, and there'd be a lot of crossover in terms of the visual style. And I just like I watched this, and I had actually had to look up was there any crossover in the talent? I couldn't find any. But
It makes me want a pattern recognition movie more than I've ever wanted before. Like this, I think this would be like again, like just shooting Moscow as somebody who lives in Moscow, I think would be amazing.
Yeah,
I like those movies too, Chris, and I think that guy also did that Wanted movie.
he did, and then
yeah.
he did Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and then they sent him back to
I
Russia.
fucking loved that film.
Me too, man. That film was great.
Okay,
Just
then
talk
I'm telling
about a
you
good
guys,
time.
Night
But the
Watch
end of this,
and
but the
Day
end
Watch.
of this, the
Trust
end of
me.
this film reminded me, dude, the art direction at the end of this film was like something out of a Tarzan movie.
When they're
actually.
inside the-
like,
Yeah.
I was
Iraq.
like, it was like I was watching, you know, The Cell or
Yeah.
Yeah,
what's
It
the
was
one he did
full
after
of
that? Which is,
amazing images.
yeah.
Oh
Did
yeah, the one
anybody
after.
Oh,
know
they did
else?
not hold back, man. That was just the visuals were the best.
Tarsum.
The trippy
Yeah,
parts
Tarsum.
were the best.
Which
The
one,
thing-
Chris?
Tarsum is the director.
Tarsum's the director, right?
Yeah,
The
Tarsum.
one
But
he
what's
did
the
after
second
the
film?
Cell, which I can't remember, was even better.
It's even better. But this film had that you know, as it progressed and got crazier, the production got bigger and it was
The
beautiful.
Fall.
The Fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like seriously, like the
Lindsay
yeah,
thing.
the visuals were and also, I mean, across the board, even from frame one, the cinematography in this film is beautiful. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
amazing. All the
Yeah.
effects are amazing.
You know, I've still not found how they shot this. I've been looking it up everywhere, and I don't know what they shot it on. This is one the one
The
film in the database.
cinematographer is famous, right?
Yeah,
He
but this
made,
is the one film that we have in our entire database where I'm like question mark.
Yeah.
No idea.
Before we get off this though, did they change they changed the frame rates at least like 4 times? Did
There were-
anyone notice?
How about that
Couple of
staccato
times
part?
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
meeting
yeah.
where
Like-
everyone,
Getting shit faced at the
Yeah.
table toward the end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
when,
Like,
when-
they were
yeah, when
starting
they're
to
when he
strobe.
fights that guy in the office.
Yes.
uh-huh.
That was
I thought there was something wrong with I thought there was
No.
something wrong with the server in our
No,
house.
they did that on purpose.
Oh my god, it was
And
so
then,
weird.
but then
was he
intercut
boss?
with that, he goes to like
I don't know what's
60
going
to
on
90
somewhere.
frames per
I
second,
don't remember.
so that it looks
Yes.
like
Look
so
at
that
the
it looks like videotape,
Almost on
Yes.
the same
Right.
floor.
like immediately intercut with that stuff.
Yeah, really.
And I
like,
seriously thought something was wrong with my feed. I was like, what the
No.
fuck is going
Same
on?
here. It was effective. You got to admit. But
Did
It was a
anybody
weird
think of
choice.
Brazil? Because
Yeah.
a couple of times
a
Yeah.
little bit.
when he was in the office and that guy had the tank tread
Mm-hmm.
shaped
Yes.
The desk.
Yes.
That guy, by the
But
way,
he's
that,
also
that-
doing coke like off of a
Off the
Persian.
carpet.
oh yeah, I know.
so okay,
Which
now
would-
now
which was
two
like
things.
that. Why would you ever do coke off a fucking carpet?
Perfect.
two things.
That doesn't
Two
make any
things.
sense.
Well, because he's got a $170,000 watch and he doesn't know who made
Yes.
it, because that's what rich people do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Two things about that scene that I loved. One is that guy is in a Russian version of 12 Angry Men. He's
Wow.
juror 8 in the Russian version of 12 Angry Men that's called 12. And it's a very good movie. Unfortunately, it is slightly pro-Putin propaganda, but it's a very good movie. And if you can find that, you should watch it.
Well, hard to fuck up that story.
Yeah. And the second thing is the drawing on the carpet in the Coke was so great to me, because it reminded me of the outline of Ukraine in Coke in Lord of War.
Oh,
right.
Is that that was a reference, wasn't it?
That's why I said that.
I didn't know what you were referring to be honest.
I never saw that film. I didn't care to.
It's got,
Lord of War is
it's got
great.
qualities.
Nick Cage, right?
It was one of the last good Nick Cage movies.
Mandy.
Raising Arizona.
Also, there's a really small, lesser known film that Nick Cage did with Elijah Wood called, I think it's called The Trust.
I've heard that's good.
Fucking really good. It's a heist film.
Honestly, first off, I thank you, Jim, because like I'd never even fucking heard of this thing.
Same here.
And it just pushed all my buttons. Like this is one of those, had I seen it at the time, and I guess it never got like a US release. It's not on Blu-ray in this country.
No.
Like I would have put it in the top 10 for the year, no question.
Same here.
Because it's just batshit.
The
It's
reason
wild.
the reason I picked it was I had read 2 of Pelevin's novels, Victor Pelevin, the one I hadn't read the novel this one is based on. And I was working at Salesforce, and there's a the Hyatt that's part of the Embarcadero. There's like that cinema in there, and they just show there's like one projection room, one theater in there.
A screening room.
They just show stuff. Yeah, screening
So it's
room.
like a real theater.
Yeah. And so this thing played for like a week, I think. And I actually went back into San Francisco to see
in Salesforce.
Yeah.
Of all places.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Huh.
Well, it was worthwhile, man. I saw a lot.
The only criticism I have is I don't like when films spend too much time on drug trips. That kind of I just don't like that.
I'm not gonna lie, at a certain point I was having a hard time following what the fuck was happening.
The end of this movie is absolute nonsense.
Like, what's happening now? What? Why are they? What?
There was a spirit. When there was a spiritual angle to the thing, they were talking about Babylonians and Ishtar and like that.
Sure.
I don't know if it was. It did not feel bogus. I didn't feel tacked on. I think it was really sincere.
I also felt like my subtitles were betraying me sometimes. I'm like, wait, I don't think that's what he just said. And then there was that one bit in the middle though where he's tripping and like the subtitles are complete gibberish. I'm like, what's wrong with my?
I know, I love that.
But that was intentional. That was amazing.
No, once I realized it was intentional, I was laughing, but like for about 5 seconds, like, what the hell is happening?
I thought
this film was very. This film was very.
It happened right after I paused it.
Generation P was very funny, actually. That's one thing that's nice about it.
It's funny and it's so
it's a
loose.
comedy.
It feels like it's a movie.
It's loose, exactly. That's the term.
Every idea they had, they put into it, and
it's not just a comedy. It's an incredibly black comedy.
It's Russian. It's so Russian. It's
all these people just get murdered off screen over and over and over again, and it's just like, oh yeah, that guy you used to work with, he's dead. Anyway, you work for me now.
Yeah. And the next guy, you guys work for, he's dead too. It's like, it was great.
Diamonds aren't forever. Diamonds aren't forever.
The guy started out working for a Chechen gangster.
Yeah, he worked for those Chechens, and you never found out what was the story with the guy in the cage. It was just like, that's just.
There were two guys.
I know.
When their heavy dude comes in and sees the guy who's attached to the table, and he's got the Joker smile on, he's like, "You motherfucker!" And he just runs up and kicks him. Like, that was so good. It's like, oh, no one likes you.
Can we talk about that guy's face for like 10 minutes, please?
We probably could, actually.
The fucking guy that walked in that Tad's talking about, that face, I was like, okay, this is, I've never seen better casting maybe in my entire fucking life.
He looks like a Russian heavy.
No, this is a revelation. I've actually watched it once, and I watched it halfway through a second time because it's so good. And YouTube rents for a whole month.
I'm kind of
mine said you have 48 hours, dude.
Hours.
How did this get
That
made?
must have
You got
changed.
48 hours.
That must have changed since I got it because I still have it. Seriously, you never know.
Google has sent out a change of terms of service email, but
They
missed
probably
it.
saw, oh, these guys are watching Generation P. We gotta change our terms like right fucking now.
How the fuck did this thing get made in Russia?
Again, a shitload of money from the actual brands.
I know, but I have to imagine at some point the government looks over and goes, "We sure about this?"
No,
Yeah.
check it out. Check it
They're
out.
making fun of Yeltsin. They're not making fun of Putin.
No,
That's true.
Right.
now there's a tell in there. First of all, they're making fun of Yeltsin, so it's okay. But the second
Maybe
thing
you're
is
right.
there is one scene in Red Square, and it's a bunch of guys waving around signs in English. It's
Yeah.
actually, and so nothing is about Putin there. So
No.
they let it happen.
So this is another Zhukov thing.
Oh, really?
Zhukov allows anti-Putin propaganda to be made because he subscribes to what we now think of as the Trump model of as long as they're talking about you, you have power. So Zhukov, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's the thing I've always heard is Zhukov actually got them to finance anti-Putin, anti-establishment propaganda because it allows them to draw very distinct lines. And it's like people are on this side or they're on this side. And if you're on this side, you're with us. And if you're on this side, you're against us. And so Russia doesn't have as much of what we would normally think of as a Nazi or Soviet or modern Chinese idea of you can't say anything bad about the establishment because the establishment still will continue even if you say bad things about it, and it hardens the resolve of the people who believe in it.
As long as it pisses off the libs, as long as it triggers the libs.
Every time,
even if it's triggering them because it's coming from their perspective.
Their lives. I don't. Maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, well, Americans aren't like 1/10 as cynical as Russians, so I can see how that could work. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's like,
remember the whole premise of this movie is we're gonna
like...
make advertising that doesn't make sense or makes people angry because it's gonna win.
Right.
Or it's going to distract
I do feel like
them.
this film gave me an insight to like the Russian sense of humor, and
that is absolutely true. Yeah,
because I think as Americans we sort of have a notion of what the Russian sense of humor is, which is maybe like none, as they joke, but as we joke, I guess I should say. But this sort of like it felt like it let me in on like what they actually think is funny.
Well, it's the same thing with Germany. Is people think Germans don't have a sense of humor, and it's just the German sense of humor is extraordinarily ironic. They just love irony, and it's like, and the Russians are similar to that, where but the irony is we're all gonna die.
Yeah. No, that I just sat through 3 seasons of Babylon Berlin, and there wasn't a single laugh to be had the entire show.
I'll bet if you spoke German, I'll bet if you spoke German, there's a lot of laughs.
No, if I spoke German, if I grew up in Germany, I'd probably think it was
because the great thing about the German language is that there's amazing levels of irony that you can create just by what words you choose. Like these words sound so similar that you can change, Du hast by Rammstein. Hast means hate and Hast means love.
Right.
Like it's such a great, like that's a joke. That's
like Tampac.
Tampac, exactly.
That was fun.
That was fucking tampons.
I love the whole thing where he speaks up to his Sprite thing. And the guy goes, Uncola was 7-Up.
But we can use it anyway.
We can use it anyway. Yes.
Even though you're totally wrong.
Laugh for me.
Good. And what about the virulently anti-Semitic Harley Davidson ad?
Oh my God, that was nuts.
Holy shit.
Davidsons drive Harleys, shouldn't you?
Yes. The sons of David, they said.
David's sons. Yes, exactly right. No, it's good stuff, man.
It's a good pick.
You got
good pick. Actually, I think it's filling up to my top 20 list now because I'm just so entertained by it.
best movies this year are going to be movies that didn't come out.
I know, pretty much.